Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports. It is our weekend program, Saturday Sports Special to be exact. And a warm welcome to all of you who are joining us for weekly program. Unfortunately, we didn't have a program last week, and that was due to travel. But here we are back again as we try to do every Saturday once everything is okay. We try to be with you. Um, on this weekend's program, we should be having Mr. Keith Joseph, who's the president of the Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committees. But unfortunately, a couple of technical issues with Mr. Joseph, where he is now, and regrets that he would not be able to join us this weekend because of a little technical problem. It's not, and then the background um, a bit noisy. Okay, so we have agreed that he will join us next weekend for that program. Next weekend, he is expected to be in Guyana, I think. The General Assembly will be taking place, so he will join us live from the General Assembly. Regrets. However, we have a program for this weekend. We'll continue. And what we look at this weekend is the National Sports Policy document that has been around for quite a while. In fact, since 2010, it has been approved. And I'm talking about Grenada's national sports policy. It's one of few countries in the region with a national sports policy, right? And Grenada is one of those with that, and a lot of effort and progress made in recent times regarding the national sports policy and some of the elements of the national sports policy, including the establishment of a national uh, sports council and parish sports councils as well, right? So we look at what basically has been achieved in the past few months, in particular, regarding the national sports policy and what we believe, you know, can take place, right? Um, Quite a bit for some has been, for some people, taking place, right? Good afternoon to you, Edwin Sam. Good afternoon to you, and a warm welcome to our program. So, for those of you who have a copy of your sports policy, the national sports policy, yeah, for those of you who have a copy of the sports policy, right, you can pull it out and we can dissect various aspects of the sports policy. Okay. Um, yeah, yeah, we can dissect various aspects of the sports policy. What we believe in terms of achievements, what we believe in terms of non-achievement, because we have been talking a lot about the low-hanging fruits and some of those things that we believe that could have been, you know, by now, I would say, could have been achieved in terms of the sports policy. We know about the incentives package. We know about the lighting of facilities, and we have seen that of recent, it would have been the Progress Park in St. Andrews, right? And we have seen progress being made now at the cricket stadium. In fact, I was at the cricket stadium last week, and I noticed that they started doing work for the installation of the lights at the cricket stadium. Installation of lights, yes, that is ongoing at the state cricket stadium in Grenada. Good afternoon to you, Garden Julian, and welcome to you as well. Yeah, so these are a couple of things that have been happening, but we want to say big congratulations to the people of Big Parish, St. Andrews. You have your um, international standard lights. Yes, and something I noticed during the turning on the lights, they awarded Mr. Oscar Andel of St. Andrews during that ceremony, and I thought it was a very good gesture. Mr. Andal has been one who has been true to the sports over the years. He has been doing quite a bit. There are a number of others, right? Like the Claudius George and some of them who have left us, you know, who have pro- provided human service in terms of sports to the people of St. Andrew and to Grenada, to a larger extent, but specifically to St. Andrew. And I thought the recognition of Mr. Oscar Andal was a very good gesture, and I want to commend the authorities for that. But yes, so going back to the national sports policy that was approved initially in 2010, and then there was some updating of it within the last, probably I think the current administration did some updating of the sports policy because nothing was really done between that time, and there was need to do some updating. There was some consultations, and then there was some updating. Let me welcome and say good afternoon to Rudian Silvan joining us in Toronto. Good afternoon, Rudian. How things?
Hey, good afternoon, Michael. How you doing?
Yes, everything is okay on my side.
Yes, yes,
In
yes.
fact, it's a rainy afternoon
It's
here.
a yeah. It certainly was a cloudy day, and I was up late last night watching the baseball. It was certainly a very long series with Detroit and the Marians. So
Oh,
I think it feels like
so you're
I
telling me
was up.
the Yankees out already?
The Yankees is out. We beat the
Yeah,
Yankees. Toronto beat the
I know.
we,
I'm just, yeah.
we take care of the Yankees a long time ago. No, no, no. Well, certainly I wanted to see who we was going to play starting tomorrow. So
Yeah, the Yankees
yeah, it
put up a
certainly
good fight.
was.
They put up a good fight.
They did. Yeah, it was interesting, but so it was good to see always a different team, stepping up after a while. So certainly, I was also
Yeah,
always interested.
right.
Yeah.
That's so as I indicated, I know you probably have your your document and certainly
Yeah, this has a
the
copy of the policy.
yeah. And I was looking at some of the aspects of it and some of the things that we would have achieved by now, and some that we haven't. Um, and it's a long road ahead in terms of achievement.
It's a long road ahead, but at the same time, knowing where we come from as a nation and the disappointment a lot of people have um, over the years, we come very far to see it is going in the right direction. So we just hope they
Why
keep
you
it up.
say that? Why you say that?
I'm more on seeing how much I don't want to be political, but this the Ministry of Sports, we have seen they're taking the time to recognize that's the importance of sports.
Hmm.
If some, I think over the years, even though there was it was called Ministry of Sports, I still don't think there was so much the interest in the sport and the athletes was there. Athletes meaning everybody, not track and field. Um, and I think now we are seeing a switch in terms of you see a lot more teams. You see more happening. There's more selection. Teams are representing Grenada in a lot of places, which we haven't seen in a very long time. So the
Hmm.
direction to me is moving in the right direction, um, and hopefully that can continue on. And I believe that when we always talk about the youths and the youths and the youths, and we say a lot of things on the youth. But if we don't focus on the youths, it's not only in education and the books, you also on the playing field as well.
Hmm.
Um, so once we focus on there as well, then we're going to see a better Grenada, our young people, and I think it's certainly going the right direction.
Okay. Yeah, I want to agree. Um, for those of who can probably take a look at on the screen, if you can see that, there's that aspect of the sports policy that deals with, as it says, it's actually on page 9. For those of you who following on it, the on page 9, 6.5, 6.5, right? Um, participator participatory and competitive activities, and it speaks of being um, participation in sporting activities, and exposure to competitiveness. you know it's trying to give, you know especially at the community, national, regional, international levels, right? It says it's
Yeah.
key to improving all levels of performances. The policy seeks to ensure such participation and exposure through the implementation of the following: one, development of a national sporting calendar by the National Sports Council in collaboration with the national federations, the Ministry of Sport, and the Ministry of Education at the beginning of every year. The national sporting calendar will detail all the sporting activities that will be held in Grenada for that calendar year, and then and to be to be to give them credit for that, I think they already sent out invitations for national federations. They probably would have. I saw the invitation some weeks ago, so probably it may have been
Hmm.
held already, right? For them to come in and to start looking at planning a calendar for 2026. To me, that is commendable, right? They started it. You don't wait until 2026. You understand? So, in terms of assistance, budgeting, all these sort of things, they will know in terms of the National Sports Council, if they have to provide assistance or guidance, whatever it is, they will have an idea of what is taking place in 2026 at the national, regional, international level, right?
Certainly, and I like that. I like that very much, Michael, because one of the things we try to avoid is the overlap
Yeah,
of events. So many different events happening at the same time, so some people wouldn't get to certainly visit or even attend those activities. So this is certainly a good one. That is always a big thing in everything that we do in today is the overlap. So there's an oversight for the overlap. I like that.
right. And the other one has to do with the organization of a Grenada national championships every 2 years in the first instance, that covers all the sporting disciplines for which national federations exist, with competition among representative parish teams. The national championship process should include preliminary rounds of competition within parishes, which should provide the basis for the selection of the parish teams. Now, while that to me is also commendable and encouraging, the
I have a
problem we have
problem.
the problem we have is that not all parishes would be in a position to participate in some of these sporting disciplines. For example, swimming, tennis. And when we say tennis, not the lawn tennis, right? Um, how do probably St. Patrick or St. Andrew or even Karaku participate in swimming or in tennis if they don't have the facilities and participants in that? I can see the probably five, maximum five sporting disciplines: football, cricket, probably basketball, volleyball, and track and field, right? We can probably add in a little table tennis and thing, because you might find probably at the school level and thing like that. So, but at the parish level, and in terms of representative teams, in terms of participation, I think we see at least five. I don't see all covering all the sporting disciplines of national federations. Let me hear your take, Julian.
I will disagree with you on this one. I think it's possible. Let me use a proper word. I think it's possible to have that. My problem, Michael, and I was very excited. Maybe I was the most excited when this mentioned the parish council, sports council. That we haven't heard about. And I think through that, because when it comes to swimming, you could have two people from your parish. You may not
Yeah,
have
but
a full team of 10 or 20. With
yeah,
tennis is the same thing. It may be one or two.
but we
So
only have,
and yeah.
but you will have two from a parish. But I mean, if they cannot compete, they cannot play the sport. They don't know the sport. How? I mean, you're just putting them there to participate.
Well,
I mean,
you expect for those who doing swimming will be a maybe part of the national swimming team, or they are affiliates somehow with the
yeah,
swimming
yes.
ingredient.
But what
Yeah.
I'm saying, until such time that you have participants from the parish who are member who can swim, who can play tennis or whatever it is,
Hmm.
you cannot have them representing their parish if they don't know how to play the sport. You don't just put them there
True,
because
and I totally understand. Now, the national swimming team have a lot of bodies. One, we don't know which parishes they're from, and some could be from all the
no,
parishes in
well
Grenada.
we assuming,
Yeah.
we
So I'm
assuming.
making that assumption. So that's what my base on saying yes, it could be is based on an assumption, right? So I'm making that assumption that the swimming Grenada is variety with swimmers across the country. That's my assumption. I'm making with when it comes to the swimming to that aspect about it, because yes, you don't need a 10-man team, or you don't need a relay team. You just need one representation that represent the parish. So if there are same thing that goes with the tennis, and whichever other sort of individual sport, you don't need a full team. You could just have one representing you. So that's how I look at it, in the sense of every parish can be
Yeah,
involved, because you don't need a full team in some of these events.
yeah. While that is so, I still think you're putting other parishes at a disadvantage because
Hmm.
while that is so, I am looking at, let's say, Karakou, and we're talking
Yeah,
about, based on what it says all sporting disciplines, right?
discipline certainly.
So my thing is that at the start, you may not be able to have all the sporting disciplines until such time that you know the sport or the various sporting disciplines are island wide, right?
Yeah,
You know there are representatives. So, for example, if St. Andrew say, or well, St. Andrews or probably St. Patrick will say that we do not have a swimmer or swimmers,
yeah,
there's no reason why someone should be someone should just represent St. Andrews because you believe they can swim.
because
They
yeah,
don't have.
yeah,
So I am saying the parishes with swimmers or who have swimmers will have an advantage. So it does not make sense. However, we know for a fact that when it comes to track and field, right, we have athletes, whether it's Karakou, St. Patrick's, wherever it is,
yeah. We
we
have
have
it all. We have it
that
all.
is covered.
Yeah,
When it comes to
yeah.
football, it's
Football,
fully
yes.
covered. When it comes
Yeah.
to cricket, it's fully
Yes.
covered.
Netball, fully covered.
Basketball, netball,
Yeah.
volleyball
Yeah.
are
Fully covered.
fully.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying
Fully
we may
covered.
want to
Yeah.
look at
But,
these sporting
and
disciplines initially because, as it
yes, but
says,
I what I understand is that they don't want to probably not want to ignore any of the sport, and that's where Michael, when I talk about, if this parish council was up and running the way it should be, identifying athletes, or those who are interested in the sports, and finding a way to work things out for them would be impeccable. But if you don't have that up and running in the parishes like it should be right now, to doing which you do the identifying of young Grenadians who wants to be a part in those in certain things, then we have a problem, because they were depending on the parish council for those things. So yes, you are absolutely right. Only if this thing is not up and running, where, because we talk about St. Mark's, the thing that's what may happen in St. Andrews may not be able to happen in St. Mark's because of one, the facilities. That's one. So they may be going somewhere else, to play or to take part in those things. So that is also another thing that is have to be in those parishes too. Not only having those sports, but also having the facility. We understand swimming, but the facility to have that, making sure that the coach is up to par, the football field is up to par, so they can do those things. So, but I agree with you in that sense. But I just think if the sports policy, those not the sports policy, the parish council, the sports councils, if they were up and running like it should
Well,
be, which way they could identify those necessary
well,
sports,
well, right.
then I
So,
think we'll be in a better place. But
well, yeah.
until then, I think it will be the same point, just using maybe 5 sports only.
Well, and to your point, as far as I understood it from someone this week, that
Yeah,
all the parish sports councils are operational, right? They are operational. They have um, offices, and they as far as I understand, they having meetings and what have you and thing. Now, what is being done in terms of outside of meetings, that is probably another thing we probably can get clarity on. But as far as
yeah.
I understand, the parish sports councils are operational, right? And to your
and
point,
and then and I like what you said, because you get one view. My view, what I learned is that it's operational in terms of having offices, having a secretary, but in terms of meetings and making things moving, and it's not happening in St.
no,
Patrick's.
no, no. They well, okay, but I understand
Yeah,
some of the parish
they
sports
have
councils
certain things.
they,
Yeah, they
they
have
have
the
yeah.
office, they have a secretary, they have all this stuff, but in terms of the
No, no,
activities moving, they haven't started it. Yeah,
yeah, that may be St. Patrick, but I'm telling you, for
yeah.
some, they are
Some
meeting,
areas they're
yeah,
moving. Yeah, yeah, they're
they're
moving better than
meeting
some.
and
Yeah,
whatever. But what we are
yeah.
not seeing is the tangibles, right?
The
And
tangibles. Yeah,
the engagements, for example, the well, yeah, the lighting of Progress Park at the official ceremony. It was the Parish Sports Council, St. Andrew's Parish Sports Council was an integral part of it.
yeah.
In fact, the president, the chairman, he made some remarks, and they were, others were involved. So they had a part to play in that. And
A part to play in it. Yeah.
I'm certain going forward with the lighting now, they will
Things will
probably
be things will be
right.
moving. Things
Although
will be
although
moving
you don't have to wait on lights to do things, right?
to do
You don't
things.
have to wait like yeah,
Remember we said that.
yeah.
I remember saying that.
But
You don't have to wait for them to
yeah,
approve
but
something for you to do something. As
yeah,
long as you have your team, you could do little things. Yeah.
but what we say now is that with the lights and thing, it's probably more meat,
Makes a big
right?
difference. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go back now to your page 11. Page 11, which I think is what some of those things that you are very much interested in. Um, the payment of stipends to technical officials, including umpires, referees, judges, and linesmen who officiate in regional and international competitions where no remuneration have been paid to these officials by the regional and international organizers. That may have to change up a bit because these days, I don't think in terms of regional international officiating, it comes with stipends, it comes with remuneration. So that probably may. So if it's happening in terms of none, well then they will chip in. But I doubt, because most of the federations, the regional international federations, they do pay their officials, right?
Yeah.
Develop and implement a transparent performance incentive framework for athletes at every level of competition, national, regional, international. Appendix 5 contains the elements of such framework, which will be finalized by a select committee of cabinet that includes representation from the ministry with responsibility for sport and the Ministry of Finance. Now, that is basically something that they have been able to achieve, because what we have seen is that you don't necessarily, in a sports policy, you cannot put a dollar figure to in terms of incentives, and for reasons being inflation and so many things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what it is, there's a framework, as they said in Appendix 5, and what they will do is a select committee of cabinet will meet. That includes representatives representing the Ministry of Sport and the Ministry of Finance, but I understand
Finance. Yeah.
also in consultation with the national federation. So if it's track and field, it will be the Athletics Association. If it's
Athletics,
football,
yeah.
etc., etc. And by the way, when they mention athletes in this sports policy, it refers to sportsmen and sportswomen, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily track and field.
Track and
So
field,
in terms
yeah.
of that, that is already there, and we have seen where people like the Anderson and Anderson Peters, Coach Paul Phillip, Lyndon Victor, and others have been able to, they have received incentives, right? Provision of economic support to members of national teams for every sporting discipline for which national federations exist to facilitate their preparation for and participation in regional international competitions. Now, provision of economic support to members of national teams. Now, we may have to get clarity on economic support. What do you mean by economic support? What do you believe, Rudian, is this interpretation of economic support?
Yeah, I don't know that.
If
I
you
don't know that
if
one.
you if you tell a sportsman or sportswoman from a national team that the provision of economic support, right, to facilitate their preparation and participation, they will want to know what it is. And for some of them, the first thing that will come to mind is financial, right? So certainly you will have to give clarity as to what.
Yeah, the economics part I don't get. Everything else I understand. If you get rid
Yeah,
of if you get rid of the economy, providing for support to members. I get the economics part of getting. I really hope there's someone is listening that could clarify that for us. But that part I don't get. The economic part I don't get.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Because as I said, if you tell the average Joe about economic support, he
Yeah.
will probably start saying dollars and cents, right?
Right, and that's what most athletes at that level will be thinking, right?
Right,
So
especially
certainly,
to,
yeah,
and it speaks about facilitating their preparation and participation.
yeah,
So it has to be, right?
yeah.
Um, Provide tax credits and other fiscal incentives to the private sector in recognition of money spent on supporting national athletes and technical officials, including time off with pay for duties related to national representation. Now, years ago, and probably it may be still, I think, based on what I heard from, especially some sporting disciplines, they will tell you that they will have to take time off from work to, one, for training, and two, to travel with national teams. And you're talking about time off without pay. We have had folks on this program who will tell me after the program, hey, they didn't really want to say that, but I had to take no leave, you know,
Well, I
no
have,
pay leave, no pay leave,
yeah.
just to travel with the national team, or no pay leave just to train with the national team. And I'm talking about the national team, eh? And this is something that has been happening up to recent, right? I don't know how widespread it is now, because it has been so commonplace that people have been, being, hey, this is now something that even if I talk about it, there's nothing being done about it. So through the national sports policy, they have this thing where they can provide tax credits and other fiscal incentives to the private sector, like the business places. But then again, that has to do with consultation, that has to do with discussion. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
if Rudian is working in X place, Rudian needs to communicate with the National Federation, who in turn will communicate
yeah.
with the National Sports Council, who in turn
Mm-hmm.
will do the necessary consultation and discussions and negotiations with the workplace for that person in terms of their training, in terms of their participation. Because, for
And that's
example,
the thing too. And go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, and that's the thing too. And if as much as it seems to be a good initiative, um, it only falls for certain sports. Um, well, because if you're training with a national team, so it sort of falls for those who is part of a national team in the area of football, netball, and probably basketball. Um, I want to see that's where that comes in. We don't have a national
What's the
track and
name? You
field
said
team
track
that's
and field?
training. No, because we don't have a national track and
Oh,
field
you
team
mean in
that's
terms of
training.
yeah?
In terms of teams, right?
Okay.
Maybe the beach volleyball. We know we have the two ladies. Um, so that is there, but then you're talking about. So then, like you said it clearly, now you have to have these sportsmen and women have to have. They also have to do their job as well. They have to do the footwork because they have to be doing the consultation and making sure they speak with the Ministry of Sports, talk to the
No,
boss.
no, no,
No,
no,
they need
no,
to.
no.
Yeah.
No, no, there's a protocol involved there. They don't have to talk to the Ministry of
Mhm.
Sports. They have to communicate with the federation. So if it's a netballer, for
Oh, with the
example,
federation. With the
yeah,
federation, I mean. I
the
didn't mean Ministry of Sports.
netballer,
I mean the
yeah,
federation. Yeah.
yeah, the
I'm in the
netballer
federation. Yeah.
speaks to the federation, and the federation, because obviously they're representing
They're
the school
representing.
district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So the
the
federation will have to reach out. Yeah.
right, the federation
Yeah.
reaches out to the sports council, right?
Yeah.
And there should be this sort of, and that's why Rudian, when we started off, we talk about the consultation with the various federations in terms of putting together the national calendar, right?
Yeah.
So if, for example, football comes into that meeting and provides their schedule
Calendar, the
of their
schedule.
national teams and what have you, right? It's easy now to have an idea of, okay, so the national team most likely, and those things are fueled because remember,
Yeah.
um, things can change. So, for example,
Yes. Yes, it does.
the Football Association can tell you we have 3 or 4 international friendlies for the first 3 months of the year, 2026. But then they can get an invitation from another
In between. Yeah.
association in between. So, things are a bit fluid, right? And things like that. So
Yeah.
that is understandable. But they should also have a communication with the National Sports Council that, hey, we have these guys who are national players and they work in XYZ, right? And we need for you to communicate with because this is a national policy and a framework. So the association don't necessarily, because we have had instances, I remember, including the Football Association years ago, that made representation to workplaces, right, on behalf of their footballers. And it was an ultimatum that the workplace will say, hey, no, it's either he comes to work or
He loses his job.
he loses his job, right?
And that,
What
and
can
that's where
what can they
and that,
yeah, and there's nothing much
what can they
the
do?
association can do.
Yeah.
Now
And
with a
that's what I'm
national
saying,
sports,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because even though the same thing could happen now. I mean, the nationals, the federation could go into a company and the company could say no.
No, 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 no. Yeah, that's different, Rudian, because remember, this is law, right? It's legal. It has legal to it, right?
You have legal
But what I'm saying,
documentation to it. Yeah,
what I'm saying though, is that the National Sports Council can provide, as I said, the necessary incentives. So
incentives. Yeah,
fiscal, which company will
we'll
refuse?
say no. We
You're
refuse a
getting
tax
tax
break,
credits. You're getting
a tax
other,
break. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, you're getting tax
yeah,
credits. You're getting
yeah,
fiscal incentives, whatever it is. It might be some level of duty free concessions, etc., etc.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So there's something for them to say, hey, I don't have a problem with that. You understand?
yeah.
But
Yeah.
that can only be done at that level, right?
That level.
The,
Yeah,
the
certainly.
association cannot provide. That's what the government can provide in terms of that. So there's more leverage from that level. So that's why it's important for them to communicate with the sports council, who in turn can do the leveraging on their behalf, right? And things like that. So if we continue, Rudian, because there's another one, um, provide assistance to national athletes to secure jobs within the public and private sectors consistent with their skills and competencies. Because we have a lot of these athletes, sportsmen, sportswomen in particular, who are unemployed, right? They are unemployed. So through that, they can provide. And I've known prior to the National Sports Council and the sports policy, where through sports, there were a number of athletes, sportsmen, sportswomen who were able to get jobs within the private sector in particular, right? And then in the public sector, meaning government, as coaches, as whatever it is like that. So, um,
Well, we have a similar thing here in Canada, but with a few different companies through the sporting bodies here, where some of this some of these athletes or sportsmen and women work in some companies like the Home Depot and places like that where they work 15 hours a week or so, but getting 30, something like that. So there was something that works out where they work less because they know they have
wow.
to go and train. Yeah. So they work less hours because they know they have to train, but it equivalent to like working like a full shift. Yeah. So there is something here in Canada that I know for a fact. I haven't seen it in track and field, but I've seen it in other sports such as swimming, figure skating, and some of these other sports and a lot of them is Olympian athletes who is actually working in those companies. Yeah, but they do get the time
Interesting.
to travel, and they do get the time, and they
Right.
do get the time to go and practice for training. Yeah.
Uh, let me say good afternoon to Hazel
Hey,
Buckles.
so
Forgive me being MIA. Understandable, Hazel.
she's not
You
forgiven.
listen to that
She's not
statement.
forgiven. She's not
Yeah.
forgiven.
Um, the this is something that we spoke about. The next one is something we have spoken about before. The institutionalization of the National Sports Awards to cover athletes from all disciplines for which a national federation exists, as well as key support personnel from across the spectrum of supportive human resources, including but not limited to administrators, coaches, facility management personnel, and the likes, right? Because most times, Rudy, and when it comes to the National Sports Award, it's just
It's only
participants.
the department. Yeah.
Yeah. And in this case, you want it to be consideration for all sporting disciplines and including administrators, their coaches. You have a lot of unsung heroes um, in the various sporting disciplines, right? As we spoke at times about, for example, Mr. Neville Glean, for example, in St. Patrick is one who you don't hear a lot about him except the athletes will mention his name. They'll say
Yeah.
thanks to Mr. Glean and blah 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 and things like that. So, but he has been instrumental in nurturing a number of athletes over the years, especially from the St. Patrick area, right? And there are
Even
a lot
going
of
back.
folks who are grateful to him
Yeah.
for those
But
years.
but but even one of even in that too, even going back and sticking with St. Patrick's, I know I talk about him a lot, is Mr. Hensley Jeffrey. Over the past 30 years at the St. Patrick's Irish School. Um, And it's the same thing for him because a lot of these kids through the parish go through him and then they move on to the Magna College and the likes of some of the schools and continue on and perform very well. So you cannot just they have to be able to identify a lot of this great men and women over the years who have done good things for this athlete because they started somewhere and the grassroots of our young athletes started in primary school.
Mhm.
And even with yourself, you go back in the primary school, you'll hear about a lot of these great coaches and teachers that you had growing up, and many others had growing up, and they not a blink about them. So suddenly, I think it will suddenly be something to think about. Remember those who have grown. A lot of these great athletes. Even Hazelin will come on and tell you she started somewhere and that's in elementary school, and somebody seen her, and then it trickle down and trickle down and trickle down. We have to start somewhere. A lot of athletes don't start in high school; they
Yeah,
start in on the elementary school.
right.
Yeah,
Right. We also have the recognition of the role. We go on to H, recognition of the role of volunteerism in the development of sport through the development of a structured sports volunteer program and recognition of the role of volunteers in the National Sports Award. Again, most times, Rudian, you will have the sports award and the volunteers. will not be even recognized. And these are the
Yeah.
people, these people are basically what you consider the engine of sports in Grenada in
Yeah.
particular. Yeah? When you look at track
Yeah.
and field, when you look, and I will say specifically track and field because
Well,
it's,
it's track and field. Okay.
you have,
The most
right,
volunteers for any
whether it's
organization, any
primary
sporting
school,
organization. Yeah.
whether it's the intercall, whether it's the respective schools having their sports meet, parish meet, whatever it is, volunteers. The officials are basically
The
volunteers.
volunteers. Yeah.
Yeah, volunteers. So, and I use that because of that. And in most cases, and that's where I believe, apart from the National Sports Awards, federations should also try to have their own awards where they can recognize their own as well.
Awards is a hard. It's hard for the volunteers. Um, I
But no,
I,
well,
I would
especially
change.
especially
I
in a
would
big
change the
sport as well,
awards.
especially in a big sport as track and
Yeah,
field. Right? So
I
that's
would
why,
use I would use a different word. Um, Appreciation something. Um, yeah, I
it
would use
boils
an
up to the same thing that
yeah. When I say
yeah,
appreciation, I mean when you hear an award, you think that everyone is going to walk out with an award, right? That's what it sounds like. If it's an
okay. Oh, well,
appreciation
yeah.
dinner,
Or recognition. Let's say
everybody
recognition.
will coming in and everyone will get a dinner on because you are acknowledging everyone. But when you say award, everyone walking there because sometimes you could have up to 100 volunteers. Now they all walking there with the intention I'm walking there with an award.
So, well, or or you can probably, if you don't want to, you
They
can
can all
supply a
get it.
check.
I'm not saying no.
For
If
funds.
they have the budget,
Yeah.
they have the budget to give it to everybody. Then
Well,
kudos for
no.
them. But
That
it's
is
also
why.
yeah,
That is why. That is why I believe, Rudian, that at the local level, meaning the various sporting disciplines, right?
yeah,
Whether it's football, whether it's track and field, whether it's cricket, they can have
their own
recognition.
yeah
Yeah, their own
recognition.
recognition
Yeah,
ceremony. Yeah,
yeah.
they can have that. So that will take care of your concern at the national level, right?
The national level. Yeah,
Um, yeah, they can have that. Because as you say, when it comes to probably football, I mean, sorry, when it comes to athletics and probably, well, athletics in particular, because when it comes to
yeah,
football, the referees are paid, the
yeah.
officials are paid, the
The
referees are
officials are
paid.
paid. Yeah, yeah.
Cricket might be a similar thing. I don't know to what extent, but I do know there's some form of remuneration. Swimming is not to that extent, but
Yeah.
when it comes to track and field, you need X amount of
Certainly, you need
officials or
X amount of
volunteers,
officials. Yeah,
yeah, to
yeah,
just to have a sport meet, right?
yeah.
Because when you look at the various events, you need
Events,
officials for the
various. Yeah,
track, you need officials for the field, you need
yeah,
officials for the long jump or the triple jump, depending on what's taking place at the time.
yeah.
You need quite a bit, and you need
Yeah,
people
quite a
who
bit, yeah.
are trained in those areas,
Trained
right?
and
Yeah,
knowledgeable. Yeah.
and right, and things like that. So that is understandable. Um, we continue with the with I know provision of economic support again. Provision of economic support to needy athletes who have represented Grenada consistently for a minimum of 10 years at the senior national level after their playing days are over. This will include assistance in accessing job opportunities in the public and private sectors that are consistent with their skills and competencies. Now, if this is the case, then we have not achieved this because there are a number of folks who have, who I believe, well, not I believe, who I know
I know. We know
are
for a fact.
they are into this category
Mm-hmm.
and they are basically destitute, right? They nothing, they not doing anything, um, and you know, as we'll say, quote unquote, they're scrunted, right? And we're talking about people who we know definitely represented Grenada at the national level for a number of years, right? well, in this case, they say for a minimum of 10 years at the senior national level. And after the playing days are over, some level of assistance in terms of probably job.
I don't like the timing.
Well, the 10
The
years
time I don't
to
like. The
me,
10 years I don't
yeah,
like.
the
I
10 years
think if
might be a,
someone, I
yeah,
think if someone really represent you, represent the country, who do not have a job, if they represent you, I think it's fair
yeah.
enough
I
to
think
at
that,
least assist them in any way, as long as they get an opportunity to wear that uniform, to wave the flag, to represent you. I think that should be
yeah,
something. That
minimum,
10 years is a very
the minimum of 10 years to me is a,
10
is a
years.
stretch, is a
It's a
stretch.
stretch. Yeah,
Yeah, and I believe that to me needs some sort of reconsideration because
yeah. The
not
timing. I don't
all,
like it. I don't like
yeah,
the timing. Because not
because when
everybody. Because someone could do good. Like you have a football player that score minimum in a season, and Grenada win whatever international tournament. Another athlete, the next year they may not be as good as they can,
well,
but because of that athlete,
I'm not looking,
Grenada is on
I'm not,
top of it. It's like, for example, let's use Kirani for an example, right? Let me use Kirani. Kirani run, he get the Olympic medal, and he never get back there again. Maybe never make a national team. Now he don't fall in this category, but he's the first to get a medal.
no, I understand you because you
Yeah,
can accomplish something
you could
big
accomplish something.
within a probably 3 years, 5 years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think the 10 years might be
I think yeah, I would say
that is a stretch.
consistently. I would
Yeah,
say consistently. Would
yeah.
be a
It's
different word, but the
it's
10 years.
something
You can put the time on it.
it's
Yeah,
something that they may have to reconsider in terms of that
yeah.
when you look at the shelf life of sportsmen and sportswomen in various sporting
And various
disciplines
sport and
because
different discipline. Yeah,
you may not have somebody who may be probably playing basketball for 10 years or
yeah.
swimming for 10 years,
But you could make a team late.
and yeah, there's a number of
Yeah,
things. There's a number of
you could make a
factors.
team late.
But
Yeah, you can make a team
there's
late. Yeah.
there's something in that I believe that they
They,
can
they,
look
they can
at
tweak. They can tweak.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and then there's also that well the next one J, which I
Hmm.
think is important and which has been debatable for some time, especially with you know federations and what have you. Provision of compulsory injury related insurance of all athletes selected for national representation. So once you are selected for to represent a national team, compulsory injury related insurance. Why? I know currently of a netballer who uh, who was injured through national representation and is still undergoing every now and again some level of therapy and what have you at her own cost. Yeah. So I think this is something that is important and is something that the National Sports Council should ensure that is across the board and operational, right? Because we know when it comes to to health and medical costs and all these other things, it's very expensive, right? So this is something that we believe, and I hope you can agree with me, Rudian, that should be operational, right? Operational. And then the final one, K, encouragement to national federations to provide injury related insurance for all participants in national competitions. Now, so J is saying that provision of compulsory injury related insurance once you selected for national representation. K is now encouraging national federations to provide injury related insurance for all participants in national competitions. Now, I think I'm probably trying to understand. So, if you are selected on the national team, you are probably automatically provided compulsory injury related insurance. That's probably the National Sports Council, right? However, they are also encouraging the Sports Council that the federations, whether it's football, netball, whoever, should provide injury-related insurance for all participants in national competitions. So that means if you're playing for Hurricane FC and you're in the GFA Premier League, the GFA should have some sort of injury-related insurance available for Rudian in the case he is injured playing unrepresented Hurricane.
Michael, Athletics Ontario, and that's track and field,
Yeah.
has a registration fee. Coaches, athletes have to pay to get in, mainly for the athletes. So you paying to register with a club or within yourself.
Right.
And once you register with Ontario, well now it's Canada, Athletics Canada. If you get injured, an accident, a situation, you are fully insured through them. Fully insured through them. So, and that is to the Federation of Athletics, Ontario Athletics Canada. You're fully insured, but it's something they have to pay into. So you use a one-time fee.
Right.
So you pay into registering that if something happened to you, that your insurance, they will take care of you with the insurance. Okay, they pay into that.
They're
Now
paying for that. Yeah.
they pay into that. So now you having, I get the federation one because if you want a team representing a team international, I want to assume, and you're injured, they should take care of you. Period. There is no question about that. They should look at your injury once you get injured and you're part of a national team, and you get injured. But is there stipulation to it? Is it injury while you're practicing or while you in a competition? Is it an injury when you're on your home, when you're at home and something happened? They're responsible for you. So it's kind of so like I said, a lot of in between they gotta have some fine printing there. Yes, and they got some fine printing there. And yeah, the compulsory one, like it's almost mandatory. You need to have this a mandatory thing, insurance for the and that's when you see you look at certain things when you talk about North Stars. North Stars should have a policy where they have an insurance policy. So that's what we talk about different between a club and a team. A club could register, with an insurance that when the players come in, and I'm using Nutsters for an example, when they come in, they have to pay a fee to get in. If it's $100, to be a part of the team once you get selected, and that goes into the insurance that will cover you for the season because it's the whole season, right? Every year, it's the season for the season. You get injured, guess what? The North Stars should see to it that they have an insurance that will take care of you. So I don't know if that's what they're trying to say. If it's a federation or if it's a team or I don't know. It's the wording. We got to find the wording there to get better clarity and to get a better understanding. But when it comes to injuries, it has to be clear. Is it on practice? Is it on the playing field? Or is it if I'm home? Or if in a car accident? Or where was the limit of that? Of that?
Yeah. There is, before I go on to the next one, which will be the final one, I just want to give a little plug there for to the this is what you're seeing here now is actually the Kenroy Batiste Public Speaking Masterclass for Athletes that's coming up. Now, recall some time ago, Rudy, and we had who it was, a
Yes.
basketballer, I think, and we were very impressed
Yeah.
with the way he was speaking. And actually, from what I understood, is that he had a couple sessions with Kenroy Batiste in terms of
Yeah.
public speaking, and
Public
Kenroy,
speaking.
Kenroy through the Kellen Batiste Foundation
Foundation. Yeah.
is having this this upcoming, as they call it, a public speaking masterclass. It says that the Kellen Batiste Foundation, incorporated in partnership with Clique Sports Management Group, Incorporated, is offering the Kenroy Batiste Public Speaking Masterclass for athletes. It's awakening your vocal presence, speak with authenticity and confidence anywhere. Participants will learn how to express their authentic and confident selves in public speaking, how to effectively write and deliver a speech, how to be effective in impromptu speaking, how to engage an audience, and how to effectively use English in public speaking. It's a tell all masterclass in public speaking. Um, it says that in terms of given the reasons why, interviews, press conferences, and public appearances are now an integral part of an athlete's career, shaping not
Yeah.
only their personal brands, but also the reputation of their teams and sponsors. In Grenada, many of our athletes struggle in front of a microphone or camera, igniting the urgent need to develop their public speaking and interviewing skills. The reality is that our athletes have been performing better and gaining prominence at local, regional, international football competitions, Intercall, Carifta Games, which Grenada is hosting next year, and Whitsuntide Games. These competitions provide opportunities for athletic scholarships, sponsorships, and endorsements, which enhance marketability. It is time Grenadian athletes take control of their narratives and own their speaking platforms. The Kenroy Batiste uh, speaking masterclass for athletes will benefit athletes in terms of personal development and professional growth. So those who are interested, you can contact the Kellen Batiste Foundation for more details. Their local phone number is 440-5277, right? So that's, I believe, is, and we spoke about that, Rudian. It's very
Yeah.
important. We have seen that a lot of live streaming of sporting events now, and our sportsmen and sportswomen have been engaged. They have been in front of cameras. They've been interviewed, and it's important that they portray themselves with some level of confidence. They speak with some level of authority. They have,
Authority.
their vocal presence and
Yeah.
a lot of things. So I want to endorse this initiative, and folks, I can only say that it's an opportunity that you don't want to miss.
To
Let's head
miss.
on
Yeah.
to the final one, Rudian, which I want us to look at, which is 6.9, right? Recording and archiving. And this is down my alley, because I think over the years we have been shortchanged, Rudian,
Mhm. Mhm.
in terms of the recording and archiving of sporting achievements, right? So probably, except for Kirani James, because of Kirani and what he has done, I am certain that we may not be able to find footage of, let's say, Hazel competing at Intercall back in 1990, whatever, or Francie competing at the World Indoors, except we probably go on YouTube. But what I'm saying, this should be part of our national archive, right? So accurate sporting records are of great historical value to our people. This is an area that has been severely neglected, and the policy seeks to facilitate the development of a strong record keeping and archiving function through the implementation of the following. One, mandated national federations with the responsibility to submit specified
Yep.
information on the performance of the athletes at the end of each calendar year as one component of the annual reports to the Ministry of Sport. Two, creation of a position of sports statistician within the National Sports Council with the responsibility to compile, analyze, and publish annual performance data on the performance of athletes for all sporting disciplines for which a national federation exists. Now, we need to find out whether that position has been created. Also, the establishment of a national sports museum under the authority of the National Sports Council that will serve as the repository for all historical records related to sports in Grenada, for all sporting disciplines for which a national federation exists. So a national sports museum. So for example, I am certain that Kirani is not competing in his spikes that he ran in 2011 and won the world championships, or 2012 when he won first Olympic gold. That should be in our sports museum. What do you think, Rudian? Right? Right? And finally, publication of an annual sport digest that will provide information on the performance of all Grenadian athletes for each calendar year for all sporting disciplines for which a national federation exists. And publication of an annual sport digest doesn't necessarily mean a hard copy. It can be a digital, these days. It can be digital, it can be hard copy, it can be both, right? But that to me is also commendable. But going back to the sports museum, Rudy, and that is whether whether or not we have anything of significance that can be put in a sports museum so that 5-10 years from now someone can see that was the spikes, or this was the javelin Anderson used in 2019, or what, these sort of things. This was the football boots that whoever used and was the golden boot, these sort of things. I don't know, but we have a lot of work to do still. The sports policy to me is very commendable. A work in progress as well, because I believe from time to time we may need to update, which they have done recently, because there are a number of things in the sports policy that have not been updated when it was first approved in 2010, and they had to update it,
Yeah.
right? So, but I think probably every 5 years, for example, they have to look at revisiting it and updating accordingly. That's just my take on that. But that's a wrap on in terms of that, folks. For those of you who are
Michael. What I
for,
think on this too, I also think that the Ministry of Sports should have a separate office, um, with someone working to identify those things.
well,
I think it should be something. They should have a separate office where folks can, and it can be started because folks have stuff that can be sent in.
oh, you mean for the sports
There
museum,
is
right?
stuff for the sports
Yeah,
museum. So
yeah.
I think it should be something separate. The Ministry of Sports should have a separate office where they have someone whose their job is to do this, keep the scorekeeping, or even going back and getting those records and getting those stuff and start putting things in place. I think it's something that can be done now. If you're talking about it here, that means they have to have a budget for it, and certainly it's a budget, meaning that they need to have an office that is specifically for that only, and that person is only focused on this and nothing else but that, keeping records and collecting stuff, collecting data, going back and collecting information, and who was the first and who was the second, and those type of things. I think it certainly will be good.
Yeah, Kyron is saying, thanks, Kyron, again for the information. He's saying a lot to unpack here from the approved policy and maybe a little more clarity and qualification on some of the provisions. And for folks who are listening, if you want a copy of, I can send you an e-copy of the sports policy. Just send me, just link me, send me send me a request to send you. My email is available, or you can just send me something on, well, either on WhatsApp or Facebook, a request, and I can send it to you. It's not anything that is secret or private,
Secret, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or private, but it's something. If you're sports enthusiast, you're a participant, whatever, I think is a
It'll be good
document
to
that you
have.
should have. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good to
yeah.
have. So from time to time, you
Mhm.
can check it, right? But thanks again, Kyron, for that information. And when you get more information regarding the date and all these sort of things, please let us know so we can share with the public regarding that as we call it, the masterclass, public speaking masterclass, right? Yeah, and it's important because remember it's not too late in terms of preparing them for especially with the track and field season approaching, right? I'm sorry it wasn't done in times because we have the Wagiti tournament that is about to, and I
That's about
know,
to start.
yeah,
Yep.
they're about to start, and I know they normally will speak to some of the footballers. At the end of the game, they will probably do a live thing with them, at the stadium and things like that. So it's a work in progress. But if it's something that can start and can be continued to, like working with various sporting federations, etc.,
That's
I
exactly what
think
I was about to say.
or even schools,
Even even schools as well as especially football teams. You could just go and do that privately with some football teams. They can bring you in, and they could that's two or three, four classes, five classes, whatever it is, and that way you have everybody there at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that to me is very important, and I like to discuss, Rudy, and
Yeah.
probably after we get Keith to come on the program so we can discuss a number of things, because there's an important aspect of sports development that we want to talk about with Mr. Joseph, right? Some challenges, the Caribbean Games and all these sort of things that he
Very
will
much so.
discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that we may probably need to get someone that can come on regarding the sports policy, regarding the National Sports Council, and give more clarity on some of those things. We
On
probably may
some things,
even,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we probably may even have the minister to probably after the
Clarify.
budget. Yeah, after the budget,
Yeah.
normally we'll have the sports minister to come and speak and things. So we're just waiting on all these things, that we'll have the minister or the permanent secretary or the coordinator of sports or someone to speak about some of those things. But as we say, there are a lot of things that can be done,
Yeah.
and hoping that it can be done. All right.
Coming
Rudian,
in.
some
Yeah.
final thoughts from you?
No, like I said, everything is good. Certainly, it's good to see. I was just get an update of the McDonald College football. They're just beating everybody bad boy. Oh boy.
Oh,
They're just giving some of the teams in them they're giving some of the
Benson.
teams in them some blows. But certainly, we know high school football in Guyana started from the senior, junior, and the girls. So it's happening right now. So it's certainly good to see that is going.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they
Right.
continue and it's doing the thing.
Yes,
So,
I meant to put it up on the screen, but I can tell you, in the senior boys, we have in zone one, SAS is leading after 4 matches. They have 9 points. Well, they won three, lost one. So it's SAS play four, 7 Day Adventist also four, GBSS with only two. They won one, they drew one. Then GSS, they played three. St. George's Institute two, St. David's Catholic two, and J.W. Fletcher three. In the zone two, we have McDonald College. They are the only team in the senior boys that are on maximum points. After four
yeah.
matches, they have won all four, so they're on 12. St. John's Christian Secondary School also have played, well, they played 3 matches. They have
Yeah.
maximum points because they won all
Points,
three.
yeah. They all
It's
on
good
three.
to see.
Yeah.
It's good to see St. John's Christian Secondary School back in the field,
Certainly.
because
Certainly. We know.
long time ago, St.
we
John's
know.
was a
We know.
very, yeah,
Was a
very
powerhouse. They was
friendly
a very powerhouse. Yeah.
powerhouse, right?
Yeah.
Um, PBC played four, they won two, they lost two. Happy Hill Secondary School played four, two, and two. That's a bit disappointing because Happy Hill has been a team
Also a
when,
powerhouse. Also a powerhouse. Yep.
also when Nat Simpson was around. Hillsborough Secondary School played two, 1-1, so they lost one, they won one. Then we have St. Mark's Secondary School, Westerhall Secondary School, uh, no, yeah, Westerhall Secondary School and Wesley College played four, lost all four. Now, what is significant here, Rudian, is Boca Secondary School not in competition. From what we understood, Boca Secondary School was unable to put a team together
Together.
after dominating
Mm-hmm.
schools football for the past 2 years.
Many years.
Boca Secondary
Yep.
School was unable to put a team together
Team together.
in senior boys, right? Yeah, in the senior boys, right? They were unable to put a team. But quickly for the girls, SAS is maximum points in the girls in Zone 1, 12, because they played 4, won all 4. McDonald College maximum points, 3 and 3, they're 9 points. Then followed by St. Joseph Convent, St. Andrew. Then Seventh Day Adventist Comprehensive, St. Mark's, Grenville Secondary School, and Caracu. Then in Zone 2, Anakin High School, maximum points, 3 from 3. Then Wesley College, 3 from 3, maximum. Wow, they'll go down to the wire, boy. Say J.W. Fletcher, 4, they played 4, won 1, drew 1, and lost 1, right? No, something is wrong. It should be, if they played 4, yeah, something is wrong there because they played 4. Why is 1-1-1, right? Happy Hill Secondary School. Then we have St. George's Institute and Boca Secondary School. Now, who's missing there in the girls? St. Joseph Convent, St. George,
Convent. Yep.
because they were very well. Probably a year or two ago, they were very outstanding. So I don't know what's happening there. But the junior boys, it's a toss-up because in Zone 1 we have Westerhall Secondary School. They are Westerhall Secondary School and St. David's, not St. the Comprehensive School. Yes,
Yeah.
the Comprehensive School. They are 9 points, so it's a tussle between both of them. GBSS followed SAS, Grenville Secondary School. Then we have the GCA, St. David's Catholic Secondary School, J.W. Fletcher, St. George's Institute, and Westmoreland Secondary School. Now we've seen a lot of schools in the junior boys, and then we have McDonald College in Zone 2, followed by PBC, St. John's Christian, Happy Hill, Boca, St. Mark, St. Rose, Wesley College, Hillsborough Secondary School, and Bishop's College. So a lot of schools in the tussle and looking for and that's the point standings that we receive on Friday morning,
Friday. Yeah.
right?
Friday.
On
Yeah.
Friday morning,
It's a
very
Friday.
very
Yeah.
right.
You
So
know, it
we'll
certainly
see.
is good. It certainly is good. I'm quite in intrigue. We talk about track and field. We know that World Juniors or under 20 will be in
Yeah.
Oregon this year.
Oh,
Certainly,
next year.
that's
Next
next
year.
year. And what I would like to see, and I'm really hoping that Mr. Joseph was going to be on, I would like to start seeing federations of countries start putting a standard. Not
No,
suddenly depending on the world standard,
it's,
but you having a standard, say that
okay.
Grenada is looking for this.
Mr. Joseph might be the wrong person because remember he's CANOC.
No, I just taking his views. I'm taking his views.
Oh, his views. Okay.
Yeah, just his views on that. Because one of the things that we don't have, like it's athletes don't know what to expect. They don't know what a
Well,
country is sort of is looking for. To
the
qualify for for
world
for teams.
for the world athletics, they already have their standards out. World
Mm-hmm.
athletics under 20, the entry standards, the qualification system, and entry standards already out. In fact, I have it in front of me.
Yes,
So that and qualification period
Michael.
started on 1st of October.
Yes, but let me tell you this: Canada don't follow
Mhm.
that standard. They have their own standard.
Well, listen. Some countries, Rudian, Canada wanna.
And I say that to say their mindset is medals.
No. But
So if you're
what
not
some
running a
countries.
certain time, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
what some countries do, Rudian, is that they set their standard in such a way that
in a such a way
once
that
you make
yeah,
their standard,
you're good.
you basically qualify. Yeah, you
Yeah,
qualify, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's sort of mirroring
It's
the world
mirroring,
standard.
yeah,
So that
yeah,
yeah, it's mirroring the world standard.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they can say that once you achieve their standard, you basically
yeah.
achieve the standard. So some will do that, right?
Some will do that.
Um,
Some will do that.
yeah,
Yeah, Yeah. And I know the basic standard because I know people who make standards, have world standards, have other standards, and the country still haven't selected them.
Well, sad.
Yeah.
Really.
So that's what I always say, and that's why I always say that it's good to have something out for federations or
Yeah.
countries, putting out certain things, rules, what it takes to make a team, what is what. Listen, men and women, they will know what the work they have to do. They will know what they have to put up because there's an expectation. They are expecting that from me, and if they don't have that expectation, they're just going with the flow. They're just going with the flow. So certainly, it's it would be good to see something like that across the board.
Yeah, and, and,
Yeah.
and you're right. The athletes and the coaches, there should be some level of expectation from them, right?
Expectations.
In
Yeah.
terms
Yeah.
of what it is they need to achieve, and all these sort of
Because
things.
because Michael, believe it or not, we might look at it as we still got to look at everything follows with a budget, right? It is expensive to
Yeah,
travel athletes. It's not cheap because you have to cover a variety amount of things, right? And and for example, now you have the sports policy. Let me use Grenada for example, talking about taking an athlete to qualify. Let's use track and field. No, they have to work a deal with the business people to cut a certain tax something, for an athlete that probably just have the the standard, just hit it right on the nose. So you're thinking like, okay, you just go in there to, so yes, you make a standard, but it's just right on the nose. So now we have to give your company a tax break or do this just for you to go on maybe, sit down and just go to the hits and that's it. I'm just saying, it's always good to give opportunities, but sometimes you fly from here to Australia just to because you just barely have the standard kind of thing. So yeah, I think there should be some expectation in across. But even for football too, football could easily put it, netball could put it. This is their expectation, what they're looking for.
yeah,
So all the sportsmen and women out there could say, well, this is what they look swimming, all of this. They can also have that expectation so that they know they know how much they're working and how much work they have to put in, and it helps the coaches as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you very
yeah.
much, Rudian. All the
It's
best.
always a pleasure, man. Have a good one.
Enjoy your weekend.
You too.
Yeah. All right. Then. Okay, then. Thank you very much, Rudian Sylvan, joining us live from Toronto, Canada, on this weekend's program. Unfortunately, as we indicated, that our guest, Mr. Keith Joseph, was unable to join us this weekend. Hopefully, we'll have him next weekend. He will be speaking to us live from Guyana, where they will be staging the CANOC General Assembly in Georgetown, Guyana. Um, the technical issues, and it was a bit noisy, and all of these sort of things were going on in the background. So he politely requested that we reschedule his appearance on the program. Folks, always a pleasure being with you. Looking forward to your company next week, God's willing. Until then, do have yourself a pleasant